one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Director Bada. I would like to acknowledge the media. They're present. And now I need a motion to approve the agenda.
I so move.
Second?
I second.
Okay. We are not, I said it earlier, but I'll say it now that we're in session. We're not going to electronically vote today. We're going to use the hand method. So we have a motion to approve the agenda. We have a second. Do we have any discussion? Yes, Mr. Parsons.
Yes.
Director Parsons.
I'd like to pull 10A2, B4, and E.
Okay. Are there any other comments regarding the agenda?
10 Echo.
Okay, so we have no other comments. Do I have a motion to approve the amended agenda?
So moved.
It's move and second. Okay, so moved by Director McCary and seconded by Director Bada. Okay, so all of those in favor, let us raise our hands. All right, okay. We need a motion to approve the minutes. Shall we do them individually or as a group?
As a group.
As a group, okay.
So moved.
Moved by Director Bruninghouse, second by Director Pearlstone. Any comments or discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Okay, report of the chair. Well, the good news is I got my voice back today after not having it for 2 weeks. So a few things. Number one, Director Connolly is not at our meeting today. He is still not recovered, and we send him our best and wish him our best. He's a wonderful addition to our board. Because of his not being well, he has decided to resign as, not from the board, but resign as treasurer because of the tremendous responsibilities associated with that position, especially for us all of the time. But when we get close to budget season, because then all of the work would have fallen onto me and Steve. So he has resigned that position, but he will still work with the board. And we hope he's back soon, or if at least he could join us next month via phone. And we have, because of his resignation, we had a meeting, an open meeting where we voted for a new treasurer. And our new treasurer, today is his first day doing the report. And he really wants the job, so we voted for him. And that, look at, he's like jumping out of the chair. Director Pearlstone, congratulations on being our new treasurer.
Thank you very much.
And he is old enough to live in the community. Just don't think that and he's going to get, he promises that he's going to fit in by the time the budget season is over. He's going to have white hair. Okay. All right. So, and the other thing is I wanted to bring up, though, I did check with our very wise executive secretary. I want to remind everyone that elections will be coming up for the third board. 4 members will be, terms will be up. So we will have, we encourage people to run for the board. We will be working very closely with our communications director, Eileen Paulin, to get she doesn't know that yet, but we did it last year, so I figured why not. We'll work with her very closely to publicize this and make it a very easy thing for those people who are interested. And I did check with Cheryl because I would have told everyone, run upstairs now and pick up your application. Not right. Applications, she would have wanted to shoot me. Applications will be available during around the first week of July, but we will have more information on that. We'll bring it up at our next meetings. The last thing is that we are going into what we call our budget season, but budgeting. We are going to have our first budget review meeting, and this is the first go-round on M&C, I believe, next Wednesday morning. Is it what?
29th.
29th. So that's next one, not this Wednesday, The 29th what time, in the morning?
Yes. I got you.
Okay, when we get up to your area, when we talk about landscape and M&C, could you just remind everyone? So this board has already spent a lot of time working together on, these are things we believe need to be in the budget. This is things, Steve is telling me, M&C is going to be Wednesday, the 29th at 9:30 a.m. He has it from 9:30 to 4:30. I think that's excessive.
Yeah.
But, in this very room here, correct? All right, so, but we have spent a lot of time listening to your comments, reading reports, hearing from the residents, ourselves living in here, and we put a lot of energy into it already, have sent all of our information to the department heads, and now we'll get together, but it's the first go-round. So these are open meetings, and I know that the Garden Villa Association would always come to these meetings, just in case, Stuart, you want us to pick you up. But, because that's a third, and then we have all of our residents. So, and we will get more information out on what's happening with the budget process by our next meeting, or as we move along, we'll make sure that our communications department gets that out to you. So that is enough for the report of the chair. We will now go to the open forum. In the open forum, we allow 3 minutes per speaker, and we don't generally answer you when you're there. After all of the residents come and speak, we'll respond as best we could, or we'll make sure that we get back to you. Just please remember, when we're at the open forum, we don't specifically mention board members or department heads. This is not a terror session, but a session where you are supposed to bring to us your concerns so we could try to address them. All right, so who is our first speaker, Cheryl?
Our first speaker is Chris Collins.
Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Rosemary. Sounding good today, much like
Thank
you
you.
feel better, which is great. I'm Chris Collins, 3306Q. I'm here with another update on the work of the Foundation of Laguna Woods Village on behalf of residents who are experiencing temporary financial crisis. The foundation is continuing our partnership with Braille Institute after a successful pilot project to assist visit residents who are visually impaired and need help. The mission of the foundation of Laguna Woods Village is to help residents who are facing financial difficulties with temporary assistance, and by continuing its partnership with the Braille Institute, the foundation is actually expanding its ability to help village residents. With the bequest made in honor of Dr. Adeline Bonin, a village resident, this program was started over a year ago and is located at the Braille Institute, which is less than a mile from the village, at 24411 Ridge Route Drive, Suite 110, Laguna Hills, and can be reached at 949-330-5062. Braille Institute's Laguna Hills Neighborhood Center offers one-on-one low vision consultations, small group classes, and in-home training, which are all designed to help people with low vision continue to live well. The pilot project proved very successful and is helping residents purchase things like magnifiers, canes, and specialized lighting. So the foundation decided that it would continue it. So the Braille Institute now will apply to the foundation on behalf of residents who are deemed financially needy to help them live independently. All requests for the assistance will be confidential and with the identity of the recipients shielded, of course. In addition, with the bequest funds, the foundation recently provided additional funding to our village library to purchase large print paperback books, another means of helping residents with vision needs. And since these books have proved very popular, we decided to expand even further. It's the goal of the foundation to continue meeting the needs of residents. If you're aware of a need that is not being met, please contact the foundation at foundation@comline.com or on the phone at 949-268-2246. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
Are they working with the residents, the ones with vision issues, on books, on the library books on tape?
I believe so. I don't know that we've purchased any of those, but I could certainly take that back as
Well,
another
because
recommendation.
there are wonderful things where you can, if you just belong to the library, so maybe there are different things we could do to figure out how to help the residents with. So if you belong to a library, somebody, you can get books on tape for free.
That's fantastic.
Like take them
Yeah.
out. So there are different things, so maybe if we could, and I know the people who I work with at the library, they're so willing to help our residents, so, they're, even books with large print might not work, but yet they love books, so maybe we could add that to your repertoire.
That's an excellent suggestion. Thank you, Rosemary.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you to all.
Wait, Kush has something.
One of the biggest resources that we have in America is the Library of Congress. And if the person is visually impaired or legally blind, they can join the Braille Institute's library, and through that they can get a special reader. And there are millions and millions of titles at the Library of Congress. They will show, the Braille Institute knows about it, and they probably help people to do that. If you need more information, I'd be happy to share.
Oh, that's great to know. I will pass that on. That's excellent.
Sure.
Because what an amazing resource the Library of Congress is.
Yes.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you.
Thank you. No one else? All right, good. Thank you very much.
Okay, our next speaker is Sherry Horn.
I'm sorry, I was here for an agenda item and
Oh,
would you rather I speak?
No,
Well,
no, we'll
no.
call you during that time. Thank you. Our next speaker is Susan Smallwood.
Good morning.
good morning, Susan. Lovely to see you today.
Thank you, you too. First, I'd like to welcome Mr. Parker to our village. My husband and I look forward to your expertise and vision for the village. I would also like to welcome our newest board members. Lastly, I attended the MNC meeting, and when I watched the YouTube version of that meeting, it confirmed something that I heard Rosemary whisper to Kush Bada, your mic was hot.
What did I whisper?
And I'd like an explanation, not only for myself, but for other people who watch the YouTube and the TV station. You said, we need to be careful with her. I try very hard to be respectful, and I believe I have. And I would only hope that I would have that in return. Thank you.
Okay, we will respond to you when we do our other responses. Thank you. Is there anyone else?
That concludes our speakers.
So as I was the one who was being, so to speak, attacked, the reason why I mentioned that to him is because I've been on the board a little longer than Kush has, and we have to be careful because we have some legal issues going on. So we have to be careful with what, that we could talk freely on any other issue, but we're not supposed to address in a group the legal issues. So that was my thing. I didn't say anything negative. I just wanted us to not step over the line and be doing anything that was not wise as far as our legal things go. So that is we have the greatest respect for you. So that is why I said that. So thank you. So there are no other things to comment on because we don't have anyone else here from the community, except for on agenda items. So we will now turn this over to, what?
Does that help her? Does that satisfy her? That's what
Oh, well, go ahead and ask.
Miss Smallwood, is that explanation satisfactory for you? Does that answer your question?
No, it does not.
Okay, so noted.
Well then, if you would like to discuss it further, we can meet after the meeting, okay? Thank you. So the next item on our agenda is the report of our CEO and hopefully some report from our COO. So, good morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Parker.
I have a number of items to go over, so bear with me. Wanted to start off with gates 1 and 9 are now closed as part of our updating of the gate program so that we can have the RFID retrofit in place. Wanted to mention that now that we're in the midst of doing the gate closure process, that our team is doing a really good job of, in a sense, making this process happen at a little quicker pace than what we did in the first one. But of course, if it continues to rain or we get too much rain, then it'll slow us down a little bit. But light rain like we're having is not too bad. With regards to gates 1 and 9 being closed, alternatives to that adjusted hours is for gate 1, the adjusted hours is gate 1 pedestrian and golf cart hours are from 5 a.m. to 11 p.m., excuse me. Gate 2 and gate 3 are open 24/7. Gate 4 returns to normal hours of 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Relative to gate 9 pedestrian access only from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Gates 7 and 10 are open 24/7 as alternative access. Gate 8 is open from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. We'll continue down that road with regards to all of our gate improvements. Speaking of the foundation that Chris mentioned.
Excuse me. If we
sorry.
have, if the board members
Sure.
have a question on a specific topic, like the gates, should we bring it up before you go to the next one?
Fine, either way.
Okay, because there are two things that we heard about the gates. Number one was that some people, and this came up at our MNC meeting, some people felt that, you get right up to the gate, like your head is almost hitting the gate. I'm not, that's a little bit extreme, before the arm goes up. So they brought that up and said, is there any way that could be looked into, not being a genius as far as gates go. And the other thing is somebody brought up to me that they were going to go through the gate, and there was a line of people going through the arm, and there was none that went to the guest. Nobody at the guest lane. So they went to the guest lane, and they felt that the officer who works at the gate ambassador, she almost thought that the gate ambassador was going to tell her to get back on the resident line. She didn't quite do that. And the basic thing is that if there is a line at the, for the resident lane has a line and the guest lane is open, could residents feel free to use the guest lane? Because it would seem that we just wanted to go through. So I think that if that's the case, so we only bring it to your attention so that we can have a
So the answer is yes to that
Yes.
last question. They can, and we've already had dialogue with Tim and security on how to make sure that works the best and most efficient way. But yes, you could use that other alternative. Yeah.
So
It's not against the rules.
it's not against the rules, but we still encourage people to use the resident lane because but if somebody goes through the guest lane, does it still track correctly, yeah, because they.
Well, they'll have to have their ID, but as far as the RFID, it's not going to use that system, but they will be able to track.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because we want to keep that going correctly also. All right, well then, I guess I started something. You might not get to your next topic. Yes, John?
I have used the lane closest and with the RFID, and it works just fine.
Right.
Okay.
With
And
all
yes,
gates.
yes, Reza?
My experience was different when I used the guest lane. It didn't open the gate because the ambassador has to push the button in order to open the gate. I guess they deactivate that in order for people don't run the gate, I think, because I have to wait till the ambassador opened the gate.
Go ahead.
Ernesto, just notified me to let you know that he's working on both items, so you can be assured that he's looking at these both and wants to improve the efficiency as much as you do.
All right, well, thank you very much. Okay, now you're next.
So as I mentioned, Chris had mentioned, obviously, the foundation on Saturday, the Laguna Woods Men's Golf Club and the Laguna Woods Village co-sponsored the 11th annual Memorial Golf Tournament and dinner which supports the foundation of Laguna Woods Village. The event was over 180 golfers, well attended, a lot of sponsors, approximately 30 to 35,000 plus, hopefully, and dollars raised for the foundation. So that's really nice, part of the golf tournament. It's a really, really nice day. I got to participate for the first time, so that was really nice with Brian. And really big turnout. I was impressed. They had over 200 people that came to the dinner afterwards, so that was really, really nice. Bocce Court's carpet has been updated, so we put new carpet down, and so that's been installed over at Clubhouse 1 for competition and play over there. New resident artwork on display at the community center. Behind you to the sides, you can see the new art all throughout the community building. This was a project along with that the village did along with the art association. They did a great job of pulling together all these art pieces and providing them this annual basis, and it's really nice to see the new art come through, and certainly the staff appreciates getting some new art placed in the building. So we have really nice brochure that staff put together that tells you where the art pieces are and who did them. So that is available up front if you want to get a copy of that. One of the big pieces of information I wanted to provide and for the public to be aware, and we're trying to get the information out as much as possible, but come Friday, May 31st, the Channel 3 analog television guide. These are for individuals who have cable television just plugged into the wall, not through a box, are going to lose that guide. It's going away. The subscriber that provides that no longer providing that. So individuals who are going to desire to have a guide system for your TV so you can scroll down and everything will need to go through, which many of our other residents already do, must rent our HD converter, which is $7.95 per month, which is similar, like I said, to those that already have the HD set-top boxes. Those are available through our broadband services, and we would encourage people to do that if the guide is critical to making it easier for them to function with their TV. So any additional questions on that, feel free to contact broadband services at 949-837-2670 or the GRF broadband at vmsinc.org website email. All right, a couple more things. A big event coming up this coming Monday, or the 27th, the Memorial Day. We're going to have the Memorial Day service at the Performing Arts Center at 1 p.m. This memorial ceremony features the All-American Boys Choir, U.S. Marine Corps, and American Legion working together, American Legion Post 257. If individuals are interested in getting tickets for this, admission is free, seating is reserved. Tickets are available at the PAC box office already. Each manor is allowed a maximum of 4 seats. Excuse me. All they have to do is call the PAC box office at 949-597-4288 to reserve your seating for that. We were talking about this at the staff meeting yesterday, and evidently it's a very, very nice event and very impressive. And I know that they have a representative from the Marine Corps coming up from the base, from Camp Pendleton, that will be a speaker at the program. So that's really good.
Comment?
Yes.
I picked up my tickets yesterday. They're 3/4 used up, and she advised me that they really think it's going to not sell out because the tickets are free, but it's going to be full. So get your tickets now.
Yeah. I don't believe it's full yet, but
It's getting there fast.
but yeah, get your tickets if you're going to get there. All right, a few more things. I have a big list today. City of Laguna Woods is going to host a low-cost vaccination clinic. So on those that have pets, you'll be able to, this low-cost vaccination clinic will be on Sunday, June 2nd, from 9 to 11 a.m. at Laguna Woods City Hall. This is rabies vaccinations will be $12 each, plus a $3 medical waste disposal fee. So there are a number of complete selection of other dog and cat vaccinations will also be available at low prices. And also information with regards to flea control products will be available for anyone that wants to participate and has a pet. Disaster Preparedness Task Force hosts CPR and AED class coming Wednesday, June 5th at Clubhouse 7 from 1 to 4 p.m. This is our Disaster Preparedness Task Force hosting information and class with regards to how to use and how to do CPR and use the AED, which is the Automated External Defibrillator, if you wanted to know what that was. Attendees will, who wish to receive their CPR certification can do that, pay the $25 cash or check on the first day of the class. They'll attend the class and then they'll be certified after that. So it's nice to get people certified in that program. Community Center PVC cool roof installation is to begin. This is the, and began and finished. This is one that although we're upgrading the system on May 12th, if you recall, we closed down the community center, put the big units. If you didn't see the big units, they were parked behind the facility, and we got all those up and connected in one day. It worked really, really smoothly, which is a great job by our Ernesto and his staff to coordinate that through the contractor. This whole month we'll be kind of tweaking our system, make sure it's nice and cool everywhere that you're at and the air conditioning system works. So we're really pleased to have that up and going. And last but not least, Monday on Memorial Day, we mentioned the service, but the holiday hours for a number of our locations, I just wanted to mention. The community center here will be closed. The reservation coordinator's office will be closed. The library will be closed. The emeritus classes will be closed. Relative to clubhouses, Clubhouse 1 will be open from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. Clubhouse 2 will be open 9:30 to 9:30 p.m. Performing Arts Center will be open from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. Clubhouse 4 will be closed. Clubhouse 5 will be open from noon to 5 p.m. Clubhouse 6 from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Clubhouse 7 from 8:30 to 9:30 p.m. The garden centers will be open from sunrise to sunset. The stables will be closed. The following aquatics, pool number 1 will be open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Pool number 2 from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Pool 4 from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. Pool 5 from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Pool 6 from noon to 6. The fitness center will be closed. The golf courses will have regular hours. The 19 restaurant and lounge will have regular hours, and also the par 3 golf course will have regular hours. And that concludes my report today. Thank you.
Thank you. Siobhan, do you have anything for us? Oh, okay. So the next item is our consent calendar. And on the consent calendar, we had removed for further discussion. They aren't removed, they're for further discussion. A2, B4, and E. So do we have a motion to approve the consent calendar minus those items?
I so move.
I second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Perhaps we don't need that Robert's Rules class tomorrow. No, I'm kidding. We have a Robert's Rules class that is being put on by one of our very skilled board members, Joan Millman. So we should all get much better at this. All right. So when we removed those items, we had to move them over to unfinished business. So we will take the 2 items on unfinished business, A and B first, and then we will add A2, B4, and E to that list. Does that work for you, Cheryl? Okay. Does it work for you, Roy? Absolutely. Okay, so now let us go to unfinished business. Roy?
Thank you, Madam President. We have two resolutions under unfinished business. These resolutions have been out for 28-day review, and we're ready to take a final vote. 11A is a resolution to amend golf cart policies and procedures. The main points are that the resolution adds a separate fine for golf carts cited for using mutual electricity without an annual electric golf cart decal. The first violation is $100. Thereafter, increments of $50, capped at $250. The member must obtain the annual electric golf cart charging decal within 10 days of a violation. I move approval of this resolution.
Second.
Any discussion? So if somebody doesn't get their decal and they run in and get it within 10 days, do they still pay the fine?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I wasn't sure. All right, so any other discussion? Any discussion? All right, all those in favor? All right, next item.
11B is a resolution to amend the lease authorization policy, and there are 5 main points. This resolution makes it clear that residents cannot add additional lessees to an approved lease during the approved lease period. Room rental arrangements or subleases are prohibited. They have always been prohibited, but this resolution emphasizes that. Advertising for a room rental or rent sharing agreement is prohibited. No manner or portion thereof may be used for vacation rentals or advertised for such use, and no manner may be leased to a corporate housing company, including any nonprofit housing organization. I move approval of this resolution.
I second.
Steve, thank you.
Okay, at this point, we would have discussion. So does any board member have anything that they want to discuss? Yes,
Just clarifying, has this been through the 30-day notice?
it's 28 days.
28 days. Both of them have.
Okay,
yes.
great, thanks.
Okay, so at this point, we can have it open to member discussion, also member comments. So was this what you wanted to talk about? Sherry, please step up.
Good morning.
Name and manor number, please.
Sherry Horn, 2354. I speak today as a resident of the village, not as a member of the city council. I'm speaking today on behalf of residents, mostly women, who are finding themselves alone years after moving in here with our husbands, participating in the community, running clubs, being board members and active members of the village. When our spouse passes, it can be progressively more and more expensive to live here. As we age, medical expenses increase, our assessments increase, everything increases for all of us. Many of us find ourselves struggling to eat, pay bills, take our pets to the vet. We loved it when we moved in with our husbands, and we love it now. Many of us are second generation, and now after 10, 15, or 20 years, our money, not our enthusiasm, is running short. We all love our homes, our neighbors, our location, and way of life. We all want to age in place. All of our government services are set up for us to age in place as long as possible. Meals on Wheels, in-home supportive services are just a couple of examples. None of us deserves to lose our homes just because of money when an alternative exists. I am asking this board for compassion. I am asking you to permit us to have roommates. I don't understand why anyone would oppose 2 members moving in together. We should be able to have a roommate for income or companionship so we are not forced to lose our homes and everything we love. As you know, a point-in-time count has just been completed. Seniors, excluding veterans who were counted in their own category, make up the majority of the homeless in Orange County. They have lived in Orange County for 10 years prior to becoming homeless. I believe rules that prohibit sharing our homes contribute to the problem. More of us could stay in our homes if we had a roommate. In 15 years, 65% of California will be over 65. We must be better to our seniors, especially as a premier senior HOA. I'm quite sure we can craft a rule giving us a way to stay in the community, abide by the rules, and still be able to afford to eat, take care of our health, and participate in the activities of our choice. Having the option of a roommate for companionship or income is one solution to the problem. When I hear stories of women thinking of selling 1% of their manor or marrying someone just to pay the assessment, I am sad they feel forced to do that. I don't want to sneak around at my age or hide what I do. This is nothing to be ashamed of. We need the option of a roommate. We need to write compassion into our rules and not add to the homeless problem in our county. Some of us have no children or family to go to and not enough money left for a new start somewhere else. I want to stay here, and I want you to find a way to make it possible for many of us. Too many folks I know are in these exact shoes. One is too many, and you could be two someday. Shared housing works. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Sherry.
Can I ask a question?
Want to make a comment?
Can I ask her a question on her comments?
Well, yes, because,
okay.
because the reason why we put this item on the agenda, and we put it on last month for 28 days, is we asked people to bring in their concerns before it gets passed. So if you, I wish Sherry brought it sooner so we had more preparation, but that's okay. Because Steve has, so you want Sherry to come up? Usually we
Just have
don't
a
have a
question.
debate here. so-
No, it's not a
all right.
debate. Are you using this as a definition for the term rent sharing? Or you want this as a separate category? Because we've had to address in one case, somebody trying to come in under rent sharing. And I wasn't really sure what they were talking about on that.
I am not sure what the term rent sharing
Oh, okay,
means.
okay.
Okay. Do you have a question for her also,
Not
or you just have a
question,
comment?
Just a comment.
Just a comment, all right, so you're safe now. Okay, yes, Bunny.
I just want to address Sherry. Basically, I think you just need to have a complete understanding of what it means by subleasing, okay? And that means that your landlord or, is not leasing or renting to different people. In other words, we've had problems basically on even renters, advertising so that they could get a roommate. Okay, that's subleasing. It doesn't mean that you can't share a condo with a friend or relative or, for sharing. It just means you cannot sublease. So you just have to understand what subleasing means and why the board is so much against that. Because what you're doing, what you're asking for, okay, is that all owners and all residents here that want a roommate, that they can go out and advertise for renting. And that really creates a problem, especially costs the boards, GRF, a tremendous amount of money for benefit sharing. And I can just go on, but I just wanted to let you know.
I think one of the biggest challenges with this is that it's so many different areas that we talk about, and I know of somebody, there's probably many, where they don't want to live alone anymore, and it's not necessarily financially. I have people sending me notes all about this. And the basic thing is that if somebody wants to have have someone else live with them, they could have them live with them as a co-occupant. When when residents fill out a co-occupant form, it says on the form, I'm not getting money for this, basically, something like that on there. And I'm sure that a lot of people fill out the form and they are, what did somebody once say? I get it in kind. They, they prepare all the meals, they buy all the, whatever. So I think that is one way that people have gotten around it. And I don't want to say anything one way or another, because all I can say to anyone who does that, I could say, you're not supposed to be charging people for it. But we don't go out as a police state and go to every unit that has a co-occupant and say, give me proof, because we're not like that. Give me proof of your bank account and see what money is going in there. I mean, we don't do that. So I believe that is one way that people get around this. There are so many reasons, and we were advised legally that we had to be more or less firm about this, because you see things all over. They'll be on the boards in the Garden Villas, roommate wanted. And we don't want to have a community with roommates, because some people want one roommate, some people will have two roommates, then they want to have four roommates, or everybody wants to have two, then they all want to get the GRF passes, so it becomes it becomes a free-for-all. And we have to in a lot of ways, guard the community. Before you know it, then the people, if they're not their roommates, they become their caretakers. And then and Lynn could attest to this, it becomes quite a mess. So we have discussed it and basically believe that having this as a rule was a good thing. But it doesn't mean to say that we have no compassion. I don't know where the board feels on this, because Sherry did a very good job of presenting the feelings and emotions. Excuse me, Stuart, we're not having a debate. When you want to come up, you have to fill out a card. So it's up to the board now to say, okay, we passed the 28 days, I vote for this, or you could say, Sherry did a good job. I'm not comfortable with voting on this yet. I want to look at it more. And Roy is going to probably lean over and give me a little kick, but it won't be on YouTube. So I don't know where you want to go. I don't know where you want to go, because it'll be under the table. I don't know where you want to go as a board member. This is up, so we could discuss it. So.
I think one of the things we need to do is take the idea of co-occupancy and define it, and really spell out what's in there. Because the state has it, that doesn't mean that we can't add to it. So that would be my idea, that we look at that and really come together and define co-occupancy. What's under that?
So you're saying that, are you saying then, because we usually do this, I'm against the motion because I want to redefine co-occupancy?
Oh, no, I'm for it. I think that it's got a lot of merit to it. But I think we need to make it clear in how we define things.
Okay. Bunny, did you have anything else to say? Because then Kush goes, see Bunny going like this with her hand.
We're talking specifically about leasing. Leasing usually is from an investor, and basically we do not want investors to rent rooms out. And so that's what this focuses on. And yes, I think it's another subject to go on for co-occupancy, but I think we ought to vote on this, okay, focusing on leasing and the fact that we do not want investors to rent rooms out. That's what this is all about.
Okay, so this is not, so as you feel that this is not addressing what Sherry brought up,
Right.
which is another subject,
Right.
which needs a clear, be on the agenda, we have to address this thing. And that's a possibility. So Kush is next.
And then me.
And then you. And then Reza.
I support what Steve said about looking into co-occupancy a little more in detail. Actually, what I feel is that we have jam-packed this motion into a bunch of different categories. If we wish, we could even split it up and be very specific. And I know Roy is kind of upset with all this going on, but if it's done properly, done once, it might be better for all of us, because it's like
Okay.
making a motion, rescinding a motion, making it a new one.
So then you would be saying, I'm going to vote against this motion because I want it spelled out. I want it
I would
divided
be more
up.
comfortable that
Okay,
way.
all right, well, that's, so usually, all right, so Roy, yes?
And sorry, I was not here at the last meeting,
That's
so I
okay.
wasn't able to vote at
Then you
that.
shouldn't go away again.
I am going away again.
Okay,
Bunny, excuse me, Bunny is absolutely correct. I would like to remind the board that this has gone through the Resident Policy and Compliance Task Force. We cussed and discussed it. We got a consensus of the task force around it. It is focused on the leasing issue. It is not focused on co-occupancy. I totally agree with Steve that the solution is to pass this resolution, because if you remember where this came up initially to the task force was when people were advertising rooms for rent in, what do you call it, the B&B sites, the air. And we, our legal counsel advised us that if we didn't want to become a transient community, we needed to stop this. So that's where this resolution came from. That's what it focuses on. Sherry raises some very good points. We're all going to get there one of these days. And I think the co-occupancy is the way to solve that problem fairly. And so I'm going to vote for this resolution, and not just because I chair that committee.
okay, so, all right, one more board comment, and then I'm going to ask if our CEO or COO have anything that they would like to say, because that is why we hire you, to help us get through these situations. Yes, Steve?
Yeah, I think we need to remember that this was crafted to take care of some problems that we need to have addressed today. And it is not all inclusive by any means, but we need this today to take care of some problems that exist. So that's why I'm voting for it.
Okay, so, oh, I'm sorry, Ray, I forgot that you had your hand up, yes. And then we'll go to Jeff.
I think the points that you brought up are very legitimate and have, merit in there. I guess as long as we separate the leasing, that there is an investor that leases his property, and that person that leases the property wants to bring in another person, that's totally different. If this resolution focus on that subject, your point is separate, and that's co-occupancy. That's the owner that now, have an empty nest and try to have somebody live with them. And that's a very legitimate case, and I'll support that. As long as this resolution focus on the issues that we say, I support the resolution, and we deal with the co-occupancy separate.
Okay, so Jeff, do you have anything you want to do to say to help us? Or
Sure.
just-
My recommendation to you would be to continue to move forward also, but I think you need to quickly get back to the committee to dialogue the issue that's been raised, because in the staff report, you focus on vacation rentals and that type of activity. And obviously, you're addressing that through here. But when the little nuance becomes, well, what if one neighbor wants to rent to another neighbor to help in the economics? That nuance changes a little bit. I think if you go back to the committee, and staff can work with you and work with the attorneys and come up with a modification that may be a modification to this, or maybe just a separate resolution that could be adopted simultaneously, and we'll bring that back as a recommendation.
Thank you. And to go to what Steve said, I mean, the reason why it's so important to pass this as this and not that is because we actually will have some people who are putting this on Airbnb or whatever, and they're saying, tell me where in the CCNRs you talk about B and Bs. Well, I mean, listen, when the CCNRs were done, they didn't even dream of B and Bs, you know? So we were trying to address the present, which is why that is this. But I could suggest that we go along exactly to what Jeff is saying and pass this because of the need to pass it, but make sure that we have on future agendas co-occupancy and give it as a challenge to the committee and put that on, and then invite people who are passionate about this to attend. So that, yes, John?
I just want to clarify, if we pass this, is there a path while we're solving the rest of it for people to take action and become co-occupants? Does that lane still exist?
Yeah.
So we're not restricting what
No,
Sherry might,
what
she'd
we-
have some way to take on a roommate if she wanted to.
Well, yeah, what we have to do is we really, and it's a great point, we really have to work on the co-occupancy aspect anyway, because we have, sometimes we have no requirements for a co-occupant, and like, we don't even know if they are, you know, so, and whatever, so we really have to work on that. I want to be careful with what I say. So, in any case, so we have a motion, we had plenty of discussion, we had advice, we had other things come up. So are we ready to vote on this? Okay, all those in favor of the motion? Okay, so, but please make sure, Cheryl, that you put on future agenda item co-occupancy, and so we won't forget it, but we'll make sure that we,
I'll call a meeting.
call a meeting and discuss it, because this has always been very big to us, like, all right, so good, well, we got that done. Go ahead. So now we have to take A2. All right, so the only reason why we asked to move A2 off of the agenda is because the wording was not correct, and it really wasn't corrected. It's supposed to be recommendation to approve building. It's not an extension, but just building on the original footprint. That's what we had said during the agenda prep, sort of. So that is, so I have to make a motion. We have to make a motion to say we would like to just, so we're not correcting what the documentation is. We're just correcting the wording so that we're clarifying it a little bit. So could we have a motion, Steve?
So move.
So we're going to say room building on original footprint. All right, so a second? Okay.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? All right. So number B4, the only thing we wanted to do with B4, again, is put some wording for clarification. Because it says recommendation to approve the request since it removes Third's mutual tree removal process and policies, rather. And we just wanted to clarify what that meant. The policy is if it, part of the policy is if it has roots that are destructive, is that what this is? So if we could do a motion to just correct that, to have that in clarification. So
How would it read?
it'd say, Third mutual tree removal policies as they relate to.
Related to destructive roots or something.
Right, okay. And it's in the documentation, we just want the cover sheet to be correct. So we have a motion for that? Second, okay. All those in favor? Okay, so we're not changing our opinion, we're just having clarification for the record. Okay, the third item was to update the resolution on third GRF committee assignments for the 9 millionth time this year. We're doing this. This is truly a living document. Okay, so the reason, all right, so we have a motion to approve by
Second.
Cook, a second, and now we're open to discussion. All right, and did anybody want to just say anything about this? Any well,
There,
Communications.
There's one right here, provided to us.
Okay, well,
Madam Chairman,
yes.
the only mistake or
Well, it's not a
omission.
mistake.
It's not a mistake. The omission,
Improvement.
the only omission that you and I failed to make on this was under the GRF committee appointments, page 6 of 6.
5 of 6. 5 of 6.
Right, but if you turn the page to media and communications, I believe we forgot to take John Pearlstone off of that committee because he is now our treasurer. And because typically what we do with GRF committees is to have 2
Alternates.
alternates, not 3.
Okay.
So that was the only thing that I picked up this morning. There
Okay.
may be others, don't know.
On the also GRF committee's business planning,
Right.
that's generally the treasurer and the president. So we have on that, me and John Pearlstone, and we'll have you, Steve, as the alternate because you're so experienced in that.
Okay, got it.
And then,
Wait, so we have those 2 made. Cheryl, are we okay on those 2 before we get too crazy? Yes, Annie.
under securities and community access, we also have 3 alternates on that one.
Security and community access. Okay, we'll take Roy. Roy, do you want to go off or you want to stay on?
I'll stay on. I like
Okay, who
that.
doesn't want to be?
I mean, I'm flexible. Who really?
Security and community access.
Page 6 of 6.
You can take me.
All right, we'll take Kush off of that. So we only have 2 alternates. Very good point. Thank you, Annie.
Thank you, Annie.
And, on what? On communication? No, we're gonna, on the communications committee, we have to have a conversation with our CEO. Maybe we'll have it today. So, we're gonna be making some changes on that. We had asked for a joint committee of all of the boards, but we don't know if that's going through. If that doesn't go through, we're gonna reconfigure our communications committee. And we have to talk about it. You know, my vision is we cannot give the committee up as communications. It's one of our key items. But maybe we'll just meet quarterly and go over the hot buttons for 3rd and not necessarily go over what is happening now, like reviewing all of the thing that communications reviews. And we might ask Annie to chair that because Roy wants to do other important things. And Annie, would you be willing to do that? Yes. Okay, so let's make that change. Let's make Annie the chair no matter what. And Roy, do you want to be the co-chair? Is that okay?
That's
All right.
fine.
So, but if we have any new communication from our CEO, we'll talk about that. But if not, we're going to just have a new vision. And we'll talk to Eileen about the vision so it'll be one way or another. What? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Steve. So, okay, wait, Water Committee, we're going to take Jack off of that, and Reza is going to go on as the chair. Co-chair of what? Well, who's the chair going to be? Everybody else on the list already chairs a committee. So you became chair by default. Water. You better be careful because Reza will convince you to go on. I mean, Kush will give you M&C if you want. That was a joke. Or Lynn will give you landscape. Or you'll take water.
You better take water, Reza. This whole thing is rigged.
The vote's already been taken.
No. That's right. Okay, so we just made a few changes. Yes, Cheryl had her hand up because she said, I'm
Yes.
tired of this.
Could you clarify disaster preparedness?
Oh.
Because we have 3 alternates.
We do? All right, John, do you want us to go off? John is, all right, okay.
Yeah, John's got plenty to do.
Are we okay then? All right, let's see. Yes, raise it. On traffic?
That has a comma after your name. I think he is.
I'm trying to, I can't see that one.
No, he's the alternate. It dropped underneath
Yeah.
instead of to the side. You raises the
Oh,
alternate.
okay. You're that, we don't have a board member named alternate.
No.
Though we could try to find one. A new person, no. it
That's
just
not a
felt-
good way to
it
hide,
just felt- Yeah, I'll give that up and let alternate take it.
Let
No.
alternate take it.
Right. Okay, so, got that? All right, so we had a motion, we've made a number of corrections, but not really big corrections, we've just done some slight adjustments,
Clarifications, yeah.
clarifications. Are we ready? And we have two new committee chairs, Annie and Reza. You know, you've been on the board for 3 months, it's time.
Long enough.
So, yes, Kush.
Did we do something with media and communications committee and GRF? There are 3 alternates over there. Page 6 of 6.
We took
No,
John
we
off.
took John off, John Pearlstone off.
Yes.
All right, so we're okay. But again, that might change, so we could go, but we're gonna just move forward and be excited. All right, so, all those in favor of the, revised, updated committee appointments? Okay, look at
these two over
they barely are putting their hand up. That's what you have to do, yay, okay. One of the changes, I'm sorry, so we have finished with the consent calendar, we finished with unfinished business, we're gonna go to new business, but before we get there, Jeff, you didn't mention, there were 2 things. Number one is we had the strategic planning, and I know we're going to go over it in closed session, but that's something good for the residents to know about. And the other thing is the change in the VMS frequency meeting, is that important? I mean, is that,
I'd be glad to share that real quick.
Okay.
So a couple weeks ago, the VMS officers, along with the officers from Third and United and GRF, met and had a strategic planning workshop, approximately all day. The workshop was to really create goals, objectives, and vision for our next 3 to 5 years, focusing on 3. What we need to accomplish, what we want to accomplish. In my opinion, the day was very well spent and very productive in a sense of having good dialogue about what the priorities are for the village as a whole. We will now take that information and start to strategically put some of these activities in place with a plan on coming back in November for a recap, secondary review with all the players. All of the information has been disseminated to all of the board, all the directors, so everybody, if they have any additional information or something they want to add, can certainly submit that to Siobhan and I, and we'll include that in the packaging as we move forward. So again, thank you for all the officers from Third for participating, because I thought it was a very, very productive workshop. Secondly, the VMS board, which previously met every other week, at their last meeting, moved to adopt and unanimously to move to once-a-month meetings, and they're going to meet on the 3rd Wednesday of the month going forward, starting June 19th.
and the reason for the change is?
I think the board feels that they are, comfortable in the with the new administration, and also comfortable with the one of the key elements was being VMS board was being provided updates by the staff, and we've gone through that cycle enough times that they feel comfortable with the operations as where they're at, and so they don't need that as a monthly or every other week activity. So now that's going to be on an as-needed basis. So we'll slot those in critical time periods during the year on whatever the major critical activity is. So they felt comfortable with moving to once a month.
Right, and the basic thing is as the board for our business and having, 2 good leaders for our corporation, they're gonna be focusing on the business of the business and working with you and Siobhan to keep moving this forward. So thank you very much. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is new business, and I guess I'll turn it over to Roy again.
Thank you, Madam President. We have a resolution to put on 28-day review, and we have a motion that we need to approve an unbudgeted operating expense. So let's take 12A, which is the resolution, and it is a resolution to revise Standard 40, titled Exterior Roll-Up Shades. There are two main points. Number one, the standard is revised to permit scalloped or decorative edges previously prohibited under the old standard, and this revision was approved by the Architecture and Standards, Control and Standards Committee on April 22nd, 2019. So I move that we put this on 28-day review.
Okay, thank you. And at this time, we don't need a vote on that?
Don't need a vote, just
information only?
Yeah.
Okay. One of the things on this, we've noticed certain things that needed to be updated in the past, and this is one of them. And it kind of brings us into the 21st century, if you want to call it that. So we're getting there on a lot of these different
I was going to say, we only have, what, 5 more to go, I think?
7.
7?
7 more to
So
go.
real close.
Real close. Okay, let's go on next to 12B.
12B is a motion to approve an unbudgeted operating expense of approximately $24,000 for alternative herbicide product. As you know, we did the trial program where we tested various herbicides, and we came up with a recommendation of Finale as the preferred alternative to Roundup. And the additional cost for 2018 is approximately $24,000. We had not budgeted for that, so this is a motion to approve that unbudgeted operating expense. The request was approved by the Landscape Committee. And Lynn, you may want to talk a little bit more about this, or?
Well, actually, there's not that much to say. It didn't. Each one of the two mutuals and GRF shared the cost of what it's going to be this year, or for the testing and everything. But for this amount of money here, it's really a decent price that we have to pay for this alternative.
So I move approval of this request.
Okay, is
I'll
there a
second it. I'll second it.
Okay, it might be noted too that it has gone through finance.
Yes.
And I was going to mention that.
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
good point.
Roy.
Okay, Kush?
The question is, Roy, you mentioned for 2018, but is this for 2018 or 2019?
2018, according to Lynn.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, 2019.
Yeah,
2019.
that's what I thought.
Current year.
Yeah, it's correct.
Yeah.
Sorry, having a brain freeze. All right,
And,
2019.
18 is already paid for and finished. We are in 2019.
Yeah,
So we're spending $24 extra.
24,000.
See, we're all
This year.
catching.
2019.
Okay.
Replace Roundup.
this replaces Roundup, and they found a combination of Finale and Oral Boost combined together.
Right.
Gives us the same, if not better results. We had a test bed that was done, and that was the outcome of that. Okay, any other discussion? Okay, all in favor of the 24,000? Okay, passes. Okay, let's go on to committee reports, and Director Pearlstone,
Well,
Finance.
thank you. I also want to thank the board for the opportunity to serve as chair of the Finance Committee and treasurer. And, well, I'm getting it right here, so it's a little bit sure. And special thanks to Jack Conley, who I hope is watching. I hope he's doing well, and thanks for all your support. Also, thank you to Rosemary for passing the voice thing along to me. Hopefully it'll get better soon. Let's go to agenda item 13A, page 1 of 8, and we'll walk through the finances. If you start with slide 1, which is up on the screen, you'll see that through the reporting period ended March 31st, total revenue was $8,680,000, compared with expenses of $6,652,000. So there was a net revenue to the favorable of $2,028,000. Moving on to slide 2, which starts to break things out to operations, which is a big focal point for our finances, you will see that we had, let's walk through it, assessment revenue of $4,692,000 and non-assessment revenue $472,000 for a total revenue of $5.16 million against operating expenses of $4.66 million. So we had a net operating surplus as of March 31st of $501,000. So plus side for us on that. Moving on to slide 3. So the next chart shows these same figures from the income statement, but compared to our budget. And as you can see, third end of the period better than the budget by $2.02 million, primarily due to timing. So a lot of programs haven't really kicked in yet, and that'll offset some of the excess, but still right where we hope to be at this point in the year.
So this includes operating and reserves, correct?
This is figures from the income statement.
No.
No.
The net revenue expense, so you have your expense is operating as well as reserves?
Let me double check.
Yes.
Assessment, yeah, because it has total assessment revenue, that's how you know.
No,
Because our
so-
assessments include reserve income, so
Right.
that's
so-
correct.
Correct. So lots of times we're way under in expense because the seasonality or because we haven't done it yet.
That's exactly what the
So
next
we-
chart.
Okay, all right.
Slide
Thank you.
4 will help break that down and kind of show where we're at on that issue of timing. And the reason for the large variances of this month is due to timing differences, primarily, not totally. And you can see outside services, $1,702,000. Non-assessment revenue had a variance of $206,000, and then utilities and telephone was also to the favorable, about $89,000. Those are the biggest reasons for the difference. But I think when you look at outside services, you can see that it's mostly because some projects that'll be kicking in as the year moves forward. Okay, so that covers slide 4. Moving on to slide 5. You can see we've got a pie chart set up that shows our breakdown of non-assessment revenues. And the focal point of that would be to see the biggest slices of the pie are 34% of the total is fees and charges to residents that have nothing to do with assessments. 24% equals interest income on our funds that are earning interest, and then 13% in resident violations, and it gets below 10% after that. But that gives you a feel for how we're seeing money coming in on non-assessment revenues. Moving to slide 6. This talks about a breakdown of our total expenses, and the pie is pretty clear that the vast majority of expenses are employee compensation related for the various services that we provide to third residents. You can also see 16% to outside services. If you remember, there's still some of those that are coming that might go up, but it's mostly service for the community for those two, and then the rest of them are relatively small compared to those two primary expenses. Moving on to slide 7. So this is the reserve setup, and the reserve balance on March 31st was $30,824,000. It showed a net increase to get to that number, and you can kind of see how that breaks down between monies that have been spent during the month versus contributions that went in. And I think the next chart's probably the most useful on that if you go to slide 8. And that just shows a great sign for where we're at and the operations of our board and our community. We have the highest fund balance that we've seen in 5 years. So a lot of that, remember, some timing differences. We'll see how the rest of the year goes, but better to be in this position at this point in the year than not. So you can feel very good about that. Moving on to slide 9, for people who like to kind of track the market for real estate, you can see we've got a bar chart that shows real estate sales, and that showed a spike in March from February up to 42, so that's good news. For anyone interested, if you go in your agenda to item 13A, page 7 of 8, I'll give you a second to do that, you'll see a complete breakdown of the real estate setup, and I think it's important to share because it already has next month's numbers in it. And you can see that sales dipped in April. And a lot of this is weather-related. It's a lot of rain during that period. Things are still closing, there's procedures, et cetera. But basically, the point is we're seeing market fluctuations. The whole area is down a little bit, not just Laguna Woods Village or Third. It's worth noting that the average price of each sale was much higher in April than it was in March. So fewer sales, higher price. We're keeping an eye on it, but right now it just looks like normal fluctuations as the year progresses. Page 8 of 8 on item 13A shows update on leases. We watch this very closely. We really didn't see any tick up in lease usage. We're trying to keep that as low as we possibly can. We'd like people to live here and own, but it's holding very stable, so that's a good encouraging sign.
We actually had a really good report done by staff because we were concerned that our leases like sort of don't ever move. And is this accurate, you know? So we did have a report run by unit number, and a lot of us sort of tested it out in our areas, and it was accurate. The only thing is that we asked that on all of our real estate papers that I don't know if you remember this, but where we said, in order for us to keep our eye on leases, like if a unit was owned just to lease, and now it was up for sale, and it was going to change to be lived in as opposed to lease, and we don't, and is that being included in the real estate reports? Because the board wanted that, because we could not understand why is this never changing, and that could have been one of the reasons why it was changing. Are they doing that?
We will make that change. We have not yet.
Yeah, I think it's already incorporated because we're coming down.
Right,
It was
but-
almost 28%, we're down now to 27.
Yeah, but we asked for that piece
Yeah.
on the cover, in the information.
Oh, okay.
When we get the information, so it helps the board, because it tells us on the sheet, the investors want to buy this for lease. Well, we could also say, this is no longer going to be lease, it's going to be a residence, so that you just keep it in your brain, so it makes sense to you
Got you.
as the treasurer.
Fair enough.
Can I
Go ahead.
request on the resale to compare or sale to the area and understand where we stand, the Laguna Wood Village compared to the surrounding communities? Just one line added to that, that our average going down versus the rest of the,
We could
close area.
definitely ask for it.
Do we still
I'm
get the
asking, I'm
report
not
from
sure, I'm
Robert?
not sure I'm gonna get it, but,
Well, we can show a report next month on that.
yeah, because
Yeah,
that helps a lot to understand how the communities.
Right, we had talked about a few people going and talking to some real estate professionals in the area and developing a metric
Yeah.
that we could then present
All right,
ongoing. You're gonna
okay,
be a
so
part of
that's
that,
something
so.
that everybody will be excited about seeing.
I shut up.
Please.
See what I started, John? You're not gonna just recite things, we're gonna
Done
make,
with your report, can I ask a question?
Yes, you are not.
On your slide 6, you were talking about expenses, and the utility and telephone expense is down to number 3 this time. Is it because the water bill has gone down?
That is exactly right, and that is actually in the packet. I'll get the page number for you. There's a whole breakdown of different variances that you can review. But that explains utilities, that water usage is down.
because of the rain.
Rain, correct.
Yeah, which is good. Please rain more than we,
Yeah, because Reza hasn't chaired the committee long enough to,
make it easier rain.
Where's your report?
okay.
Okay, I have one more thing. Next meeting, just that simple. Tuesday, June 4th at 1:30 in the boardroom.
Except for the budget meetings, which.
Right, they're all coming up during next month,
Okay,
variety of
all right.
budget meetings.
Okay. Next committee report, and thank you very much, John. Good job as your first report. So the next is the report of the Architectural Controls and Standards Committee, Director Parsons.
Okay, as you might recall, going back about a year ago, we had about 50 old standards that we decided to update. We are down now to where we have about 7 left, And that's not including new ones, but these are the old ones. So we're looking at that. Hopefully, we'll take a couple more next meeting. And just want to remind people that before you do any alterations work, outside, inside, whatever of your facility, be sure you check with the alterations department. It'll save you time, it'll save you money, and a lot of frustration. These folks know what they're talking about, and they can help walk you through the whole process. So our next meeting is May 27th, 9:30 here in the boardroom.
Is it?
Correction, please. It's May 28th. 27th is Memorial.
Oh, 28th, I should say.
Because we're not going
28th.
to open on
You're right.
Memorial Day just for your
28th.
meeting. So isn't it the afternoon?
9:30 a.m. is what I've
I
got.
thought it was it's at 1:30.
Has it been changed?
Siobhan is going to check. I believe it was at 1:30 on Tuesday, the 28th. Well,
That would be a conflict. Disaster preparedness is at 1:30.
well, I don't know, but Siobhan is,
Disaster preparedness is in the morning, third architecture is in the afternoon.
Okay.
is that correct, Siobhan? All right.
Yeah, third
I don't-
architecture,
I don't-
1:30.
All right, so architecture is on the 28th at 1:30, and I'm sorry we missed that. Usually we try to catch this during during agenda prep, but you took the day off, so we
That's
couldn't
right.
remember. That's right. All right, so see what happens? All right, thank you very much. C, communications?
The committee last met March 13th. We have not met since then, but we have been doing a lot of work, particularly with regard to the breeze, working with staff. And we continue to invite board members if there are things that you would like to write about. As you know, the breeze is by the directors for the community. And Lynn and I have done most of the work, but if you have anything from finance or anything from M&C for the June issue, landscape, Lynn's already on a couple of things, just let us know. Our deadline is the 29th to get all of that, all of the articles listed into Eileen. And Annie, next month, it's all yours. Thank you.
Well, one of the things that we did in the past is that we used to actually ask our communications person to go through the finance report and pick some highlights, because there's so much stuff right in our agenda packet, and picking some highlights from the finance meeting and doing a little finance report. So the department heads could hand it in, or we can go through it or on M&C, there were some key things that happened that, whether it has to do with the street lighting project. So instead of having tremendous articles, you could have, some short articles, update on the lighting project about the election. So we could have a discussion, just a little get together on how we could perk that up, right? All right, so we'll have more information on communications soon. Report of Maintenance and Construction, Director Bada.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a little lengthy report, so I'm going to read a part of it. Our meeting was on May 6th, and we had a lively discussion of many items, including streetlights, carport maintenance, SE increase of tariff, failing aqueducts, etc. Discussed bulky item pickups, which was presented by Chris Langenauer, who is one of our new staff members, senior staff members. So we have directed the staff to create a presentation of our new pilots of the street, which are going to be 4 new pilots with some new fittings.
Do you have any idea as to when we'll have more information out on that?
I'm waiting to hear from Director Munoz, and I think he has sent me an email, which I haven't had a chance to review.
But it should be soon.
It should be soon, before June 15th, definitely.
And so then we'll just work with our communications department to get information out to our, like we did the last time, yes?
Correct,
Okay.
correct. Also, we discussed what was that piece of, in the carports, condensation panels, it was an item that was discussed. And so many items got discussed in there, and so with that, my report is ended, and the next meeting is July 1st at 1 p.m. in the boardroom.
Can I ask a question? Will we be getting any new information on bulky items? Because one of the items that was brought up when we spoke to Chris is there's so much like misinformation. You know, like the website says one thing and the flyer says another thing, and the people who answer the phone say something else. And so it's bad enough that it's already, so are we working on that? And will we have, when we get something together, we should actually present it probably at the board meeting. I mean, so I don't know, I mean, because it's really important.
If I remember right, we directed Chris to bring it to our September meeting because,
September?
yeah, because he needed.
Time, okay.
Our meetings are every 2 months, and he didn't have enough time to do it for July meeting. So the next meeting after July would be September.
And then it won't come to the board until after M&C?
Yeah, so it would be right after the MNC meeting, it would come to the board.
Okay, we have to see if we could do anything. We could see if we could, because it is such a tremendous problem, we should see if we could do anything to move that around to, but, I mean, but that's not really board-specific. That's also something that, you know, is across the community. So if we could do anything on that, could you just let us know soon? All right. Very good, thank you, Kush.
That ends my report.
Thank you. Yes?
Yes.
Yeah, just so people don't forget, we're still continuing on with the Shepherd Crook installation. Could you just mention about that?
Shepherd Crook it's coming up in our packet later to approve it. So we are going to do a part of Gate 11 in this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we did discuss the condition of the walls, so we should, because you brought that up, and we don't want to put Shepherd's Crook on a crumbling wall, because then the Shepherd's Crook and the wall will fall down.
It's not crumbling,
Well-
it's just separated a bit, so it will be amended or corrected. Repaired, correct word, at that time.
Well. So.
No, when you say crumbling, it means like it's going to fall down.
Well,
It's not falling down.
I wanted to make it be more dramatic, so you'd really run out and take a look at it.
It's been reviewed and it's just
All right.
separating because of settling.
Okay.
We need
Raise
an
it told me
elephant for
that the walls are falling down. Okay, the report of the parking and golf cart task force.
Yeah, I'm making a list of different items to be discussed at our next meeting. And it'll
Is there going to
more-
be a meeting?
There'll be more coming out next month. Yes.
Because we have money in that budget to do our little parking spaces. And
Yeah, between buildings for golf carts.
so we're going to have a report next month. When? When did you say?
Next month, at our next month meeting.
You're next.
So we're going to have, it says the next meeting is TBA.
No, it's me recapping the different areas to be looked at our next meeting,
At our parking meeting or at our board meeting?
at our board meeting.
Okay. But-
Things are being handled behind the scenes right now.
Okay, well, that's good. So we're going to write that down. So that's going to be like on future agenda items is a report on parking, which is different than a meeting report because they're not having a meeting. They're just doing a report. Okay. So are we ready to have the report of the landscape committee?
Okay.
Director Jarrett?
Okay, thank you. At the last meeting, there was a review of the renderings for the turf modernization project. So it was shown to the people who attended the landscape meeting. And the members were able to come and get their questions answered after the renderings were shown. We're actually waiting for an ROI on this project so we can move forward. We'd like to move forward with the one project this year and then, go on to do other projects in following years. So we're still waiting for that ROI. Kurt Weeman gave us an update on the tree trimming status. And as a reminder, this year in third, we don't have a budget for trimming trees. We have a kind of like an emergency budget if trees need to be trimmed that are in the way of lights, so to speak. So because this year all the dollars are going to the United tree trimming, which is really, you really have a problem over there. So we're going to concentrate in 2020. We'll be back to our real budget for trees, trimming trees in the third mutual. Kurt is working on the landscaping manual, and we're hoping that he will give us pretty much a final draft on June the 15th. We're trying to hold him to that date, and we offered to help if he needed help on that. I asked that he complete the third mutual fire risk management plan, and that was started by our former landscape manager, and it was to be. I told him I'd like to have it completed by in time to be in the manual, our business manual for 2020. He's already met with OCFA and his meeting scheduled this week with Parks, which will give him useful information in completing that plan. Because we didn't get that plan because it wasn't completed in the 2019 business plan. So I'm really trying to push to see if we can make that happen. The hydro-seeding project on the slope, I think beneath units 3433A and 3433B has been completed. The seeding has been done. It was spread on the slope, so we should see growth there soon. I went to a garden tour. It was a fundraiser for the library, the city library, a couple weeks ago on a Sunday. And some of the people were mentioning what happened to that slope, what are they doing about it? But they didn't know that it had already been seeded. And I wasn't in their earshot when they were talking about it, but people told me about it later. People were really wondering about that slope because there were a lot of visitors to those homes that day. We'll soon have a slope renovation maintenance contract, and Kurt has already received one bid for the repair of the slopes. I want to remind all residents, do not request work from the workers in the field or the supervisor. Just because you mentioned and you told a supervisor about a certain problem you'd like to have fixed, it probably is not going to happen. Those supervisors are working. They're working out there also. You need to call in your request, or you should put it online, whatever. But you need to get the request into resident service. It's real important. And if you come to the monthly landscape meetings, you'll be able to talk to Kurt in person, the man in charge, and get some of your questions answered. And sometimes that's the best way to do it. I really, really urge you to do that. Our next landscaping meeting will be June the 6th. And our landscape budget meeting, if anybody's interested to come, you're welcome. It's on May the 30th at 1:30. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lynn. And thank you for jumping into this with both feet. All right, report of the Water Subcommittee, Director Bada.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This would help. We attended the community meeting at the El Toro Water District just a few days back, and we were surprised to hear that they are going to increase our tariff, which would be as much as $100,000 for the next year. So what we were talking about in our last meeting and the meeting before that about saving water and controlling the use of water usage in every different form would be very important. Luckily this year, we've had a lot of rain, which has helped us with our irrigation use of water. So continue doing that, please. Everybody at home and all your endeavors in trying to save water would be very appreciated. Our next meeting for Water Subcommittee is June 11th, 2019 at 11 a.m. in the Sycamore Room. Thank you.
And will you work
Oh,
with, will
pardon?
you work with the new committee chair to get ready for that meeting?
I would definitely work. Reza, if you have anything to add to this, I would really appreciate it.
Yeah, there are a couple of things. I think there was good news, bad news in the meeting. As Coach mentioned, the addition $100,000 for the next year is about 2.5%, but the following year is going to be higher than that. It's going to be about 4.5% going on for 5 years. And the data that was presented shows some, they said they're dipping into their reserve, but there's a lot to be discussed on that side of it. But some of the good news and bad news about the water situation itself for the Southern California was that for the Northern California, the precipitation at late April was about 134% of the normal. So that was good. The 2018 year, 82% of the normal for the water compared to 2017. And moderate drought conditions still exist through the Northern California. The Colorado River Basin was, as of late April, was about 115% of its normal, which was pretty good. But the situation is not as good as in Nevada for the Lake Mead. And the Lake Mead and the Lake Powell in Utah, they're lower, about 58% of the reservoir capacity. So they're low. They might trigger condition if they go below 14 feet, height. That's the trigger ones. So although Northern California, snowpacks are also pretty good, actually. The snowpack is about 172% of normal in the Sierra, so that's good. Northern California is in good shape than the water that we're getting from Fort Meade or Lake Powell. So there is still going to be, trouble ahead. The price of the water is going to go up, and it's going to go up, as I said, next year is 2.5%. The year after that is going to be twice as much. So the reason for the third mutual water is a little bit higher compared to the United and others when we looked at it, because we're still using potable water for irrigation in third mutual, in gate 14 and gate 11. We are not using the treated water. So we talked about the gate 11 possibility of turning the treated water. They said infrastructure is available. It's possible to do that. I don't know the cost. They didn't discuss the cost, how much it would be. But gate 14, pretty much impossible because of the height. They have to put the pumping station, and they said that's not feasible for them. Even if they put some pumping station, they might not be able to get the water to that elevation. So gate 11, especially on the hillside of it, is going to be potable water. 14, gate 11, possibility of we change it to potable water to regular water. That might reduce our cost of the water usage by some percentage. I don't know what that is, but it definitely does, because potable water is more expensive than the treated water. So that's some of the information from the meeting.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The next report is the report of the Resident Policy and Compliance Task Force. And I guess you're going to be having a meeting.
We're, we're going to have a meeting, yes, to discuss our co-occupancy rules and requirements. And just as soon as I can get the staff together, and we'll set a date, I'll look at Team Up, and we'll have a meeting and discuss that very important issue. Thank you.
Okay, so now and thank you all for your committee reports. We are now going to review the GRF committee, and just because Steve said that he wanted us to be finished having lunch by noon.
Well, we better hurry up.
So we,
Shouldn't be right.
so if we take long doing this, that means you're only going to have 5 minutes to have lunch. So just only report if there's some highlight to report. If not, you could just mention the date of your next meeting. So community activities, Director Pearlstone.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There was a lot that happened at the CAC meeting. I'll use Cush's language of a lively discussion on a lot of topics. I think the two big takeaways, I mean, the events and the facilities are really being heavily used. I mean, people are very appreciative of what the CAC represents. But now there seems to be I think, a much needed and helpful focus turning towards the finances and the fees and the structures. They passed a resolution to increase the parking pass fees, still extremely reasonable for visitors during the emeritus courses. And there's a lot going on in that discussion. So I think good things will come from that to get a good balance for fees. And I know that staff's heavily involved with it, so very encouraging. Really, and then the rest of it was just more about the golf usage is down because of the rain, so that, isn't going to get made up, so that has to be thought about in terms of long-term planning and lots of other stuff, but it's the big message is there's a lot that's going to be coming up on CAC that I think will benefit everybody. So next meeting, July 11th, 1:30 p.m. in the boardroom.
And I think that we finally agreed upon the chair. Oh, Siobhan stepped out because I've been helping Brian, being that I bought like so many chairs in my former life. So he did a lot of research and where we're trying to, and had so many people sit on them and et cetera. So I believe that we finally are going ahead because the plan was to get the same chair for all of the clubhouses except for Clubhouse 2, who have their chairs, and not have those orange stack chairs. So we found a chair that you could stack higher. So as of our last conversation, we picked the finish, the fabric, the seat, all this other stuff. So that might be coming along. So that's exciting. So the next committee is the Finance Committee, and you were at that meeting. Is there anything to report?
Just that there's the budget cycles coming up, the mid-year review. Some of the trust facilities fees are a bit lower, golf fees are a bit lower, but expenses are lower as well. So it's being carefully watched, and then we'll see how we go into the second half of the year for
Okay.
GRF.
All right, Landscape Committee, Director Jarrett.
Okay, the Herbicide Drive project is reported down there, and it's gonna cost GRF annually about $3,000 additional to what they were paying for Roundup, so it's not gonna be a killer.
But that's not for the golf course. That's for the GRF, like near the clubhouses and et cetera.
Yes, there was a lot of discussion about the creek and all the problems with the creek. This meeting was very well attended, and primarily it was attended by people who are interested in what's going on with the creek, what bad shape it's in. So a lot of discussion about that. So, there's a lot of agencies involved and probably about at least 10 federal and 4 state. So it's really, people really just don't understand all the hoops law we have to do to go through to get anything done with the creek and all its problems. It was decided to continue on keeping the GRF Landscape Committee alive because there was discussion, it was an agenda item, whether or not to keep it alive. But it was definitely desired to keep it alive, and it's primarily because of the creek, people interested in the creek there were attending. So the next landscape meeting for GRF will be on Wednesday, August the 21st. It'll be quarterly, by the way.
Okay, one of the things, because I keep asking Siobhan this, I go, whose responsibility is it at the gates? When you enter the community, is it like Third or United? And she told me that around the gatehouse, around the gates, it's GRF. So I would think that if I were looking at all the gates, that should be enough to keep it alive, other than.
Yeah, true.
So that's what she told me, that's what she advised. So I think we should make sure that because they have had no committee for over a year, and a lot of when we went in and improved the gatehouses and we went in and installed the new gate arms, I don't know if there was any plan on it. I think that there was at one time, so that should be something that should come up.
Yeah, that's true. But like I say, it's going to only be quarterly from now on.
Well, you know where the CEO and COO sit.
Yep. I see them here. I see them here today.
They're right next door to one another. No, I think that's important. So I hope that if that's what's theirs, they have it in their budget for the, and there's a, plan, et cetera. And I know Kurt's very busy, but it seems that, I don't know how, they don't think that there's not enough significance to have a meeting about it, so. All right, thank you. Report, yes.
I have questions about the creek. The maintenance of the creek itself, regardless of things that related to the federal agencies and counties, et cetera, in the city. Where did that budget come from? Who budget for that?
Good question.
GRF.
GRF doesn't.
Yeah.
GRF doesn't have a creek budget.
It must be somewhere.
There
So,
got
but
to
we'll
be
check it out.
somewhere, I don't know,
That's-
because that
that's-
cost can be really high.
Oh, it is, I know, because when you're dealing with the governmental agencies,
Yes.
it would be in their reserve, but I think that is another key thing, because if they didn't have a landscape committee for a year and a half, and now they're saying they don't know, I mean, there are some key issues that have to do with GRF, so,
Okay.
you could look at the landscape when you're walking into the library and have a breakdown, so they have things to look at, so, we're gonna, but
I
thank you.
agree, I agree.
Okay, report of the energy, no, excuse me, report of the Maintenance and Construction Committee, Director Carpenter, that's you.
Basically, they didn't have a meeting.
And the next meeting is June
And the
5th.
next meeting is June 5th.
Okay,
So,
thank you, Director Carpenter.
thank you.
The Energy Task Force, Director Frankel.
We've got a new chair. We elected a new chair. As a matter of fact, I'm the person that nominated Steve Leonard, and so he's going to chair the Energy Task Force. The next meeting is at 1:30 on July 3rd, and I will be out of town, so that leaves Steve or Reza as the other members of that task force. Thank you.
So that's one of you're one of the alternates?
Yes.
Okay. Will you be out of town too?
I will be out of town.
So remember, when you are on a GRF committee, that's why we have two alternates. Because if two of you are out of town, that means one of the two alternates has to go. And if all four of you are out of town, then we have to come up with something else. I'm the president. So if you're going to be out of town, please make sure you call on one of the alternates and get replaced. So for this one, Reza and Steve will attend. Got it? All right. Thank you. Media and Communications, that meeting was just yesterday.
Yesterday, yes, Madam President. We met yesterday, and the most important thing that came out of the meeting was a decision by the committee to not renew the Fox Sports Prime ticket, Channel 428, and the Fox Sports Net West, Channel 429. The reason for that being that they're looking to charge us an extra 25% fees for next year, programming fees. It's about $1.8 million, Reza, that we will save by not renewing those channels. So folks, we're also, I think some of us on Third are trying to figure out some ways to improve the ability for us to do streaming. There's an issue that we can solve if we can simply turn on the ability to use our broadband company with the applications that you can download. Apparently, we have that capability, Jeff, but we haven't made a decision to turn it on. There is a cost, but I don't think it's $1.8 million. So we ought to be able to do that for our residents. As these cable companies increase their rates and as they reduce their programming, we really are going to have to keep up with the ability to stream. And the problem we have now is if you download an application and they ask you to fill in your internet provider, we can't do that yet, but we have the capability to do it. So we just have to please work on that, Siobhan and Jeff.
So
If
that-
we do that, it's actually increased the ability to download other channels,
Right.
not just those two.
Not just those
To give
two.
you a lot more
Right.
opportunities.
The next meeting is June 17th at 1:30 PM. This needs to be corrected. I've talked with Cheryl about it. It's in her template. We need to make sure that we always meet the third Monday at 1:30 PM in the boardroom. We only changed that once over the last couple of years. Thank you.
The other thing, though, that did come up yesterday when the committee voted on this is that they vote to pass it on to the GRF board. So we tried to, and Joan Millman was very good in doing this, to try to push it through, because if we kept delaying and asked for another report or whatever, it wouldn't get to the board in time to pass it, hopefully, and get to the budget, because the key on that was to get accurate numbers in for the budget, better numbers in for the budget.
Oh, yeah.
And I know that that's something that Jeff's working on. So, so that was done, so it'll be voted on by the GRF board, hopefully. All right, next committee is the Mobility and Vehicles Committee. Director Pearlstone?
Thank you. They did not meet, but the next meeting is scheduled for June 5th, 1:30 PM in the boardroom.
Okay, and who is going to chair that in the future? Or be our representative? Are you still doing that?
Yeah, John Frankel and I are
All right.
still assigned to
Okay,
that.
so we didn't take all of your work off just because you're the treasurer? No, okay, good.
Annie's doing the next one,
Who?
Annie,
Annie? What?
because both of us went, she was doing the report.
So on
Security Community Act.
security and community access, Steve just said Annie's going to do it.
Yes, so at our last meeting, Chief Malloy did give us a report on the process of the gate updates. He said that they were on schedule and there weren't really any problems. So for this year, they are on target.
Okay.
And our next meeting is June 24th.
All right. Disaster Preparedness Task Force. Director Frankel.
The next meeting shows here at 9:30 in the morning. But
On-
now I'm hearing there's a conflict.
No.
May 28th.
No, there's no conflict because architecture's purposely in the afternoon, so you could have this in the morning.
Okay.
So we're good.
Yes.
All right. The traffic hearings, Director McCary told me it's Director Frankel who's supposed to have this report.
No, I'm doing that.
You're doing it?
I am
Oh.
doing that report. So at the last traffic hearing, it was really actually a full day. We had cases in the morning and in the afternoon, so there were a total of 30 cases that were actually presented. Many of them, the majority of them were moving violations and parking violations. So the residents appeared at the hearing and gave their side of the story. And the committee informed them that they will be receiving a letter in the mail as to what the committee decision is. Again, the majority of those were moving violations and parking violations. We're still seeing quite a few residents with no valid GRF vehicle decal, and those vehicles are also being cited. Another problem that security is discovering is people are not having overnight parking. When residents call in for their guests to come in to visit, if they are not given an overnight parking pass, those vehicles are being cited. Chief Malloy also reminded us that security is on patrol for 24 hours, day and night. So when they're patrolling at night, if they observe a vehicle without a decal or illegally parked, they will be cited.
And forgive me, because I don't have to use Dwelling Live very often. because nobody comes to visit me. It's supposed to make, everybody's supposed to be sad then. Well, find somebody. But when you go into Dwelling Live, you can request an overnight pass too?
Yes, you can.
Yes, you can, okay. So I think that people just have to be reminded, we have to remind people a lot to use Dwelling Live, because that's our goal, but also to use all of the components of Dwelling Live, which I believe the one time I did use it, I did get, I thought it just comes back to me. So, all right, is there anything else, Annie?
Yes, there was one other thing. Chief Malloy alluded to the fact that they are updating the traffic monetary fine process, where right now, whatever your violation is, you're able to go to traffic school and have that fine corrected. And so there are some items, some violations that the committee felt, or Chief Malloy felt, that should not be allowed to go to traffic school. For example, parking in a red zone or parking in a do not parking zone. Those items were felt should not be something that you could go to traffic school and get those removed.
Okay,
You have to
good.
pay the monetary fine.
Thank you. John, you had your hand up?
Yes, with regard to the overnight pass, if you have a guest and you don't have an overnight guest, make sure they leave your home by midnight, because they don't cite the folks for lack of overnight parking until after midnight.
Wow, that's late. All right, I have a question, and maybe one of the committees could answer this, or so. Somebody stopped me and was asking me, can't we do something about having a mirror or a stop sign over whatever? And I'm thinking, what if somebody suggests, or if you yourself see an area that you feel is could be dangerous, where does it get reported to? Siobhan, you want to?
The security department has a traffic engineer on retainer, so it would go that route.
So would you send it to the security committee, or would you go through resident services, or what would you do?
You actually could do either. Resident services would pass it along to security, or you can bring it to the
Okay,
security. committee.
so I don't bring this up for myself. I mean, though I should know that answer, but the thing is if somebody were to see something where they think that it is a potential danger, they could report it to resident services or to the committee, and then security will look at it. Okay, so
I
that's.
have one other point on that. It was really emphasized at this meeting, the speed limit is 25 miles per hour and 15 in the cul-de-sac. So even though the signs are posted, residents were still reminded of the speed limit, and they will be cited if they go above that speed limit.
I could swear, and I might have been dreaming or driving around with I always have my eyes open, but it looks like the stop signs now have like a red strip down the stop sign. Is that new?
It's been there for a while.
For a while? Well, all of
So you
them?
can see them.
But I just noticed it on, I just noticed them, and I mean, I always stop, at the gate 14, have you noticed that, Lynn?
Didn't notice it.
Have you, John?
I've seen it.
All right, but it hasn't always been there.
No, well, I don't know that for a fact.
Oh,
Caught my eye.
God.
They're on Via
I just
Puerto.
stopped.
Okay, because it's just like suddenly there's this, and it really was interesting, because it makes it, stand out more, so.
Reflects in the light.
Oh, it does? I'll have to drive at night
Yes.
and look. All right, well, that would be interesting, yeah.
Yeah, just as a side note on stop signs, I've noticed several places where when the wood is exposed, they really need repainting. Is there a cycle at all for painting those? I'll just drop that out.
Maybe instead of painting them, they're putting this red thing on it.
Well, that's only one side.
Well, it's better than nothing. Well, that would be interesting to bring forward.
One further comment on speed limits and the 15 mile per hour in the cul-de-sacs. If it isn't posted, they won't cite you. So it has to be posted, and many cul-de-sacs are not posted at 15 miles an hour.
So what is going to be done?
To my knowledge, they're not going to do anything. Some are posted, and those they will cite.
Oh, so if it isn't posted, you could,
No.
I didn't say that. I didn't even finish my sentence. Okay. All right, so future agenda items, because we weren't really there yet. We were going to have the animal control regarding coyotes, but I really wanted sort of to couple that with landscape doing a major cleanup so they stop hiding the coyotes. But we have to talk to Lynn about that, and we're going to, future agenda item is going to be a co-occupancy, but when we don't have to report on it there, but we just don't want to forget it.
But you're also going to have Steve's parking report.
Yep.
And the parking report, okay, got it, so we're not going to forget any of this. All right,
The animal control side,
what?
on the animal control side, it's not just coyotes, there are a lot of snakes around.
So do you-
Last week, just in our neighborhood, I called animal
So
control
do you-
twice for rattlesnake, and there was some kind of a snake, the guy said it probably booger, but he wasn't sure. Big ones, there's
So
several of
do-
them
would
mating
you-
too.
So would you like to have this report at our next meeting? I'm not asking you to do the report. He looks at me like, hell.
No, but we call animal control. I don't know what kind of report we can make
No,
because.
they
the
they
security-
were willing to come and do some advice. So what we're saying is, do you think because there are a lot of snakes and it's getting warm out, that would be a
Yeah.
good thing?
Yeah, that would be because.
All right,
that's
John, then you
education.
want to arrange that, but we don't only want coyotes, we want
They're gonna volunteer
snakes.
me anyway.
Oh, I have to call him back and tell him now that we're set, and for the third Tuesday of.
But we don't only want coyotes, we want any report on
And
snakes.
I'll mention to
too.
him that the subject of snakes also came up.
Okay, all right, all right. Then it would be very worthwhile, because it's covering two things. All right,
Jason needs to go out and take pictures.
all right. So at this point, we would have director's comments. I'll start with Cheryl. You have anything? Figure I would surprise her. Jeff, do you have anything? Lynn?
I just want to add to that rattlesnake issue. When we were on the garden tour a couple weeks ago over on Bahia Blanca, were those homes in the cul-de-sac overlooked Barbara Lake? One lady, she told me she killed 2 rattlesnakes on her patio, and the woman next door had just killed 8 in the past 2 weeks. So there's a lot on her patio. There's a lot of rattles. So she learned how to use the shovel.
So what department handles rattlesnake calls?
Nobody. They tell you to call
Shelter.
animal control.
Yeah. animal
Well, I
control.
saw Jeff take notes. I showed him the letter from the animal control people, and he wrote down the guy's name. And you may want to discuss that with him if it's an issue that you feel.
Well, the thing is that, again, anything that we do to try to help the residents live here better. So if you were to see a rattlesnake, you know, we're not telling everybody buy a shovel to kill it, you know, so what should they do? So that would be a good thing. All right, so anything else, Lynn? Director Bada?
No comment, thank you.
Director Bruninghouse? Director Parsons?
Yeah, just appreciate all the new artwork and stuff. If there's one painting left over, could you put it up in our lounge? The one that was up there for over a year. It's gone now.
But we have to like it.
What'd you do?
We have to like it.
Okay, Bunny, anything? Director Pearlstone? Director Franco?
No, thank you.
Karimi?
On top of the snakes and coyote, we do have a killer bees in the neighborhoods too. Please be careful.
Okay,
The
so-
incident happened last week, so if you saw those bees, those are killer bees and they're hybrid California type and they are very dangerous, so.
So when we get to talk to the animal control, could we see what else they could talk to us about? Do they do bees too? Or otherwise, we do the bees?
Yeah, we do the bees.
Well, then we should just have a whole bit of information for,
Could be a good article, too.
well,
We gotta get the information first. We don't have that problem to get it.
Siobhan, which department, though, handles bees? Is it landscape?
It's general services, yes.
General services, okay.
Excuse me, I asked Kurt, did his workers see a lot of rattlesnakes? He said they get about 3 a month. So
Okay.
they take care of some also.
Okay, so we have snakes, bees, and coyotes. All right, So all right, so in any case, Director McCary?
This weekend coming up is Memorial Day weekend, so wishing everyone a safe weekend and a kudos to all of our military people, so thank you.
Okay. Siobhan? Okay, so we got this done with 20 minutes for lunch. All right, thank you all very much, and we will now recess this meeting for lunch and then close session. Thank you.